Welcome, everybody. Woohoo, I hear the roar of the audience out there. All right, there we go. Lots of great energy here at Howl happening here in New York City. And we appreciate you as our audience being here in person as well as virtually when you see this video. My name is Heidi Russell. I am a fine art photographer, founder of International Women Artists Salon. I've been a partner with Fresh Fruit Festival for some iterations of visual art exhibitions and showcases. So it's my pleasure to be here tonight with you all to present our literature showcase. And we have some great talent that's here reading for us across different genres and topics. And I'm sure you're going to really enjoy them. And I am going to introduce our host and have her get things rolling. And I will tell you more about her later in the show because she will be closing out the show. So my friend and creative colleague and fantastic human being, Chocolate Waters. So please come up to the stage. And she's award-winning poet, by the way.
She's a pretty fantastic human being, too, that one, and very patient. Okay, hello, everybody. We're going to start with Carol Polcovar. And Carol is going to be coming to us, actually, from Hawaii. So, up this way. She is a founder and first artistic director of the Fresh Fruit Festival. And she's a poet, a playwright, and now a novelist and screenwriter. So she's going to be reading, patching in from Hawaii and reading from her latest book, A Murder on Allen Street. I think we're ready. Okay, go.
Hi. I was supposed to read from my novel, A Murder on Allen Street, but I have a pet peeve, which is nobody writes about aging, except to how to avoid it. And I have 3 poems that talk about aging. I want to thank Heidi for amazingly pulling this together, and she's a wonder. And my novel is on sale online, on most places where novels are on sale. So my first poem reflects what's happening in our world in old age. The story continues. The kings change names, change titles, sir, minister, president, Führer. The jesters don their costumes. The villains twirl mustaches or throw bombs. Little Nell is tied to the railroad tracks. Or they napalm babies. The curtain comes down. The costumes change. The action begins anew. Our stock characters are all here. Hero, heroine, saint, the devil with his 3-pronged tail. Hemlines rise or fall. Men are dressed in robes or skirts until they are forbidden. Women have their breasts bare or cover their body, face, eyes, and the wars and the horses, which turn into tanks and drones, and the soldiers who turn to dust, those that pray and those that desecrate, a grand parade of teachers and fools, a Mardi Gras of infinite madness. Celebrate the folly, try to avoid accidents, too much heat, demagogues and demons. Love each other daily or as much as possible. We actors in this endless drama must say our lines, lend support, and maybe, just maybe, it is as it is. Rabbi Nachman says, when the Messiah comes, everything will be exactly the same. Everything will be exactly the same. But we will learn to be ashamed. And it's interesting finding yourself old in this, in a way, unchanging world. And this is a daily kind of thing. Death and loss, 2010. The world did not shatter, it shook a bit like a shrug, or when we awaken from a dream. Still pain, a tiny missile, remains lodged, a sliver of something inside me. A memory. Is it a memory? Dust, desire, a story I wrote and lost about laughing under a tinted sky when we were young and the world's great door opened and beyond it was everything. A door so much larger than the tiny cubbies of our lives. A phone call annoys me, demanding my attention, and I busy with the tiny coffins that hold my minutes, say goodbye too quickly and get on. And now I am slowed down by a sudden stab of remember, a look that held a joke, that held a smile, that held a photograph of the world in my mind forever. A millisecond of what once, when there was still before and after. Life is stacked like letters and lists, things to do, and then an unexpected breach that cries, remember? Scratching for some order, an unexpected shift. The day comes in on an odd angle you had imagined, and always. Still tides change and return. Tides repeat and repeat. You need the comfort of tides, but life is not a tide. It is a small, silent tsunami, never noticed until it lifts our oceans, changing the shape of our landscape forever. And landscape change is a big part of getting older. My landscape changed from New York City to Honolulu, quite a change. But really, the change is getting older, and it's amazing. And this one I wrote early on, it's called Destination. Old age is an indignity, and you arrive there suddenly one morning with your bags poorly packed, with wondering where you are and how you made the trip. Since you never left your work, your family, your lover, your career, your apartment, your dog, your life, but still, here you are. Something aches in your shoulder or knee, and the face staring back at you, welcoming you, is only vaguely your own. It was an unscheduled flight from here to there, hardly noticed. Could have been beamed down. And now, surprisingly, you are somewhere else, heading to somewhere else. The trees are the same trees, but look a shade out of place, different. The noises of children surprise you. Do they alert you? You want to sleep. And no one listens to you quite the same way. They know where you are headed and wouldn't go there on a bet. They intend never to arrive at your station. They will remain where they are forever. I didn't mean to come here, you would say. No one told me I would. I was doing something else, you see, something much more important than age and death. But here I am at its doorstep, and my luggage is not properly packed, and I am not sure what to bring or why I wasted so much time on other journeys when, after all, the last could be the best. Thank you for having me join this group from so far away. And a reminder, a murder on Allen Street. And I think our 10 minutes is up.
Thank you, Carol. Let's have another hand for Carol Polcovar. Okay. All right, next up, we have Jorge.
Your voice.
Did I start too soon? Is she still there? Oh, okay. All right, okay, sorry about that. Next up, we have Jorge, A. Valdes, and they call you Java. Yes? Okay, Java. Okay, he's a Cuban-American artist and writer living in New York City. He's published in several literary magazines and has exhibited his art in galleries in different cities and received awards for his work. Today he will be doing two poems from his book, The Love Letters of the Guitar Player. And he's going to do it in Spanish, and then his friend Tony Matullis will do it in English, back and forth. Okay, come on up.
Thank you so much. I just want to say, this is my work here. Yeah, because I write and do visual art. So like you said, I'm going to read in Spanish, and he's going to do the same poem in English. So, mi propia vida. Comenzaré a vivir mi propia vida. Desde que tengo uso de razón, he vivido la vida de los demás. Desde los 5 años, mi tía Shana gustaba de vestirme de mujer. Me ponía un vestido con unas paradoras y me hacía bailar al son de las maracas. Después vino el periodo de hermano, que se empeñó en hacerme boxeador. Un tío que quiso convertirme en músico, el abuelo, tío Ruso, doña Aulea, que quisieron volverme cartomántico, cura, pintor, diseñador de muebles. Un día pude escapar de aquella casa y después de estos años pude dilucidar. Solo quiero vivir mi propia vida, de la cual me queda solo la mitad tratando de eludir mis frustraciones, mi pena y la otra parte de mi soledad. Pero no es nada fácil si se trata de un hombre lleno de vocaciones raras. A veces en las noches me disfrazo, me busco unos zapatos aparentes y ocultos donde nadie pueda verme. Bailo sobre la punta de mis pies.
My own life. I'm planning to start living my own life. As far as I recall, I've lived the life of others. At the age of 5, there was Chana, my aunt, who loved to dress me as if I was a girl. She got me a little dress, a petticoat, and made me dance at the beat of maracas. Then came the period of my older brother, who was determined to turn me into a boxer. Uncle Larry, who thought that I was good for music, then Grandpa, Uncle Russo, Miss Ulia, who wanted me as a priest, as an artist, a card reader. One day, I run away from all that world, and after all these years could figure it all out. I want nothing but living my own life, from which at best I have the other half left, trying to run away from my frustrations, my pain, and the other half of my solitude. It's not an easy task when it's about a man haunted by so many expectations. Sometimes at night I get into costumes. I choose a pair of shoes right for the occasion. And hidden, where nobody can see me, I dance gracefully en pointe.
Sombra. Lo que yo prefería de la tarde era mi propia sombra en la pared, ese otro yo saliendo desde mí. Pero mi sombra se empezó a alejar cuando me fui adentrando en el amor y confundí mi cuerpo en otros cuerpos, hasta que un día desapareció. Hoy solo soy la imagen de una sombra a la que no le sirven mis zapatos.
Shadow. The one thing I preferred from the afternoon was my own shadow casted on the wall. That self of mine projected from myself. But my shadow began to get away when I started to get heavy into love, losing track of my body and other bodies, until one day when it vanished away. Today, I'm only the shape of a shadow of a different size who cannot fit my shoes.
Jorge and Tony, the new duo. Okay, all right. Okay, up next, actually, he's not here. His voice is going to be here, I understand. And his name is Michael Luongo. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. He's an award-winning journalist, writer, editor, photographer, and academic. He is a PhD student at Goodw.y.n, the School of Hospitality and Tourism Management. And he's researching tourism development in the context of conflict. Through his work, Michael has visited over 100 countries and all 7 continents. And we're presenting an audio reading by Michael of his New York Times article called Modern Love.
The New York Times, Modern Love, Carrying My New Husband Across the Threshold, by Michael T. Luongo, June 6, 2025. It seemed a romantic beginning, carrying my new husband across the threshold of our apartment for the first time since getting married. In reality, paramedics carried Harry, his frail frame strapped into an emergency chair. I trailed behind them on 4 flights of our walk-up, holding his oxygen tank, its plastic tubing connecting us that April afternoon. It would be among the last times I saw my husband alive. In the space of a month, I was engaged, married, and widowed to Harry, who had been my friend and roommate for nearly 25 years. Just as surreal, our wedding took place at Lincoln Hospital in the Bronx the day before, on Easter Sunday, 2022. Harry, whose birth name was Wing Ho Chow, my reluctant husband who wanted to keep our marriage secret, had just exercised spousal privilege, releasing himself into my care despite knowing I was flying back that day to Purdue University where I was teaching and pursuing a PhD. The months before his death were exhausting as I traveled every few days between Indiana and New York. Hospital weddings may be a common trope in movies and TV, but they are exceedingly rare. Only one nurse on Harry's floor could recall witnessing one. Such is their rarity that the head nurse told me that the hospital wanted to issue a news release about our nuptials, something Harry adamantly refused. Harry was in many closets. I learned of his undocumented status when getting him out of a legal snafu that involved providing a Social Security number. His panicked response, "Let's get out of here." He also hid his sexuality, asking me not to tell anyone in our Washington Heights apartment I was gay because By association, they would know he was. To plan our hospital wedding, I contacted a Catholic priest friend whose church helps the undocumented. He was a former lover, making it even weirder to ask the favor of marrying Harry and me. With so many strange circumstances, like a handsome male nurse on Harry's floor we jealously joked about, I sometimes felt I was starring in some pansexual Pedro Almodovar film full of off-kilter erotic connections. Timing was a huge obstacle. Michael, my friend said, you can ask me to marry you any day of the week, but not on Easter Sunday. By Monday, I'll have all the time in the world. But Harry did not have all the time in the world. I don't think I'll make it, he said. We have to get married by Easter. I searched top wedding officiants in New York City, and only one, Samantha Freire, mentioned gay weddings. When I reached her, she said she had never officiated a hospital wedding, but she quickly agreed. The hospital provided balloons and bubbly apple cider, and I added the Easter touch of chocolate bunnies and jelly beans. I cried at my wedding. I felt that my mother was there with me via her memorial card in my pocket. She had hoped I would marry in some way, telling me in 2015, when same-sex marriage was legalized, you can marry a man or you can marry a woman. Now pick one and settle down, and give me grandchildren. Why did Harry and I marry under such dire circumstances? We had considered it years before, even though we were never partners in a romantic sense. In the summer of 2021, Harry was diagnosed with terminal stage 4 lung cancer. This was soon after I learned that one of my oldest friends had terminal brain cancer. Mere months after the death of my uncle whose name I shared, and not even a year after my mother's passing, the worst sadness I have ever experienced. I was a shell-shocked mourning mess who now had become Harry's primary caretaker weeks before moving to Indiana for my PhD. Harry's undocumented status played a pivotal role in why he had not learned of his cancer sooner. Fearful of doctors reporting him as undocumented, he sought medical care only for the worst emergencies. He was also impoverished and uninsured. It's not that he had no skills. A polyglot of Chinese descent born in India, he was fluent since childhood in Mandarin, Cantonese, Hindi, Urdu, and English, later adding Spanish and Arabic. He could have been a high-level interpreter, though these languages were useful in his work as a restaurant host, where he was poorly paid and often laid off, especially when bosses worried about undocumented crackdowns. Since the pandemic, I mostly supported us on my freelance writer income, which wasn't easy. A problem we encountered was that despite my being Harry's legal caretaker and medical proxy, we were at the mercy of hospital staff. One hospital's refusal to honor paperwork made it clear how tenuous this was, but if I were to become his spouse, they could not say no. From the beginning, Harry entrusted me with his care. As an American-born, native English-speaking son of a lawyer, I was who he had long relied on for legal and medical tangles. The day he learned he had cancer, he was in the hospital bed, fussing with the socks they gave him, saying, "I don't understand any of this. You have to make the decisions." Mostly, though, people tried to help us. New York City was then a refuge for immigrants, regardless of status. One social worker enrolled Harry in emergency Medicaid, which covers undocumented immigrants under certain circumstances, his cancer meeting the criteria. An incredible relief, even if it did not cover everything. But Harry, ever worried, would change hospitals as bills for uncovered tests accumulated, even if I agreed to pay. Meaning, I was constantly reestablishing his care. Anxious about bills and barely able to breathe or walk, he stopped seeing doctors for a few months. He also caught COVID, setting off a death spiral. A few days after our wedding, he was rehospitalized in Manhattan. Clearly dying, he needed hospice care, which emergency Medicaid did not cover. The Catholic Church came to the rescue for this gay couple, and he entered Calvary Hospital in the Bronx. "We can't let the nuns know we're married," he said. his head twisting worriedly on the pillow, tubes sprouting from the paper-thin skin of his arms, black and blue from needle punctures. "I know the Pope personally, and he doesn't care if you're gay," I said, a conclusion I had confidence in after meeting him several times through my work as a journalist in Rome and Buenos Aires. Purdue's spring semester ended in early May, and I drove east for 13 hours straight, making it home in time for final goodbyes. Harry died Sunday morning, May 15th, 4 weeks after our wedding. Death did not end the Kafkaesque indignities of marrying an illegal immigrant. These came not from the church, but from the government. I had to document that he was undocumented with the federal government, a procedure to ensure I did not claim death benefits. I learned from the funeral home that New York provided COVID-era emergency financial assistance for burials. However, I was repeatedly denied reimbursement, the government throwing at me various regulations which paradoxically stated undocumented Medicaid recipients qualify. This humiliating denial hinged on the definition of resident, with the state telling me no undocumented immigrant can ever be one. It didn't matter that Harry had a lease, lived in New York for 33 years, and that he, like many undocumented immigrants, filed taxes. This catch-22 made it seem Harry's status was like a political liability in an ever more anti-immigrant atmosphere. I often think of mixed-status families in my neighborhood, including a woman whose son was taken away by ICE, one of Harry's constant fears. As he was dying, I saw how these fears played out over his life. I am naturally gregarious and was conversational with his doctors. This angered him, and he would say, "Only tell them what they need to know, nothing personal." This was how he navigated life for more than 3 decades, keeping so much secret, from immigration status to orientation. It must have been exhausting. And in the end, it killed him. Harry is one of millions of stories of undocumented Americans, but to me he is not a statistic. He was my friend, my roommate, and my husband, and he cannot be erased. Several times when I visited Harry in the hospital, he said, "Are you going to write about me?" He was a private person, so I can't imagine he wanted me to. But writing about Harry is how I can best ensure that he is not forgotten. In this one way, at least, he is now documented. Michael T. Luongo, who lives in New York City and Indiana, is the author of a novel, The Voyeur. A version of this article appears in print on June 8, 2025, section ST, Styles, page 6, of the New York edition with the headline, "Words to Ensure That Every Memory of Harry is Shared." I'm Michael Luongo, and Harry, Wing Ho Chow, was my reluctant, undocumented husband. Thank you for listening to our story. Thank you.
The world we live in today, huh? That was beautiful. Thank you, Michael, if you're listening in now. Okay, next up we have Perry Brass. He's a poet, writer, and an activist, and has published 23 books. He's been a Lambda Literary Award finalist 6 times, awarded Jenny Award from the Generations Project, president of the Gay Liberation Front Foundation, co-founded Gay Men's Health Project Clinic, co-founded the Rainbow Book Fair on the advisory board, and he's on the advisory board of Pony Box Dance Theater. And is there anything you haven't done? And he wants everybody to know he is no fan of Donald Trump. There.
Can you hear me? Are we okay with the mic? Oh. Yeah. Is that okay? We are okay. Great. Well, I want to thank everybody for being here, and thank Heidi for organizing this, and thank the Howl Gallery and the nice people who work there. I'm going to be reading actually I'll be reading poetry from my new book, A Life Without Money. I'll be reading a couple of short poems from it, and then I'll be reading a longer poem from it. The Lord of the Lonely. How I will give myself to you, how I will offer you true lingering solace, the immeasurable kingdom, the short balm of hope and the long balm of decent love, of the great world viewed as good and not bad, of the idea of yourself as good, as God, as love waiting, as love offered, as love found at the end of your journey, aside from the normal business, aside from the 9 to 5, aside from every formality except for honor, naked, splendid, giving you the promise you want. Nidarian. Nidarian is a word that I discovered in the dictionary. It pertains to the invertebrate phylum Nidaria, to which jellyfish, hydra, and sea anemones belong. All speckled with light and jelly and silvered flecks of salt, all twisting and gliding and catching drools of amber before they fall into the grist along the sand. It shoots a spew of water and wriggles forward, menacing, floating close. Who says beauty is simple? Complicate me, detain me, make me afraid. I will gasp to catch my breath, then float with air to come up, to become one with your layer beneath the waves, where sunlight is reflected in my observant pulse, where any dream is lethal until the night sucks the tide through its course. It's one of those kind of delicious things, you want to just, sometimes you want to stick a poem in your mouth, right? The next poem is a longer poem. It's called The Death of the Peonies. And I wrote it in the year 2000 as a birthday present for my now husband, Hugh. And I've read it a number of times, and I just felt like I want to stick it in my mouth again. The Death of the Peonies. At first, they are nothing, a stubble on the earth. And then their stems shoot up and tangle and gossip with one another and twist their leaves about each other rancorously, grabbing towards the light, thrusting their fingers out in fisted buds and penis heads, tight, furled, foreskinned out, and you wait anxiously, hesitantly, for a soaking rain to please them but not beat them down. And you dream about their flesh, their baby whiteness and rich Latin reds, and extravagant nights of them drifting out to the garden to smell. Then they burst, and you're shell-shocked from them, their dazzling, belly-filling, ruthless gaudiness. Your heart triple beats around them, a bolero entangled in cockatiel plumage, a bed washed with petals, and you're diving in them, dripping, swimming, sinking obscenely, licking them with that scent of apple and mango and citrus breeze, and the clean creases of babies, and a ripened banana, and rain pounding your throat. And at night, you can't sleep from the thought that this exalted gallop, hard, rushing, punching the air, its moments are numbered. And you must go out and kneel in it as you once made love to whale sounds on a boat, insane, but who could control it? They go off. Your beloved flowers will forget you and take new partners, while you can only watch. But this does not stop you from rolling in the agony, how unseemly, dreamlike, yet revolting. They have just taken your heart and popped it and are eating it. These awkward, hushed blooms, turbaned in the mating call of earth and testicles. And you blame them. They made you ashamed, stripped you, reached inside and ripped some vital piece from you, while you only wanted to lie face down, drenched in their odor, in the crotch of their enduring artlessness. As that scent, intimate, fleeting, suddenly clears through you, and you drop to your knees and roll into yourself to at last dissolves what figures between you, and in a burst it reaches you. It dissolves, it reaches you. Your own waking nightmare has taken you out as its victim and pushed its jagged knife into your chest as the sun beat down while you scream with a gag in your throat, God, take me now. God, take me now. Now. Till your blood rushed up and was met by a heaven of simple lips as the holy child, knowing, floating on a cloud of pebbles, blessed you and kissed that place in your heart that bled. Then all folded into one, rolled into its own thrilling head, presented on a stem perfect through infinity, where its blossom holds and tempts you with an aroma of such intensity that it made you stay alone in the garden all night. And in a week or so, there before you is that final retreat when the air takes their petals and drops them to your feet, and you watch them exhausted, mute, stunned, left in the waiting room of a choking single breath. Thank you.
Cheers for Perry. That was beautiful poetry. Thank you. All right, next up, Nicole Goodwin, aka Goodwin, spelled out with a W.Y.N. Okay, I got it right. All right. They are long listed for the Pulitzer Prize in Poetry for 2023, the 2023 R.W.W. Creative Nonfiction Fellow, as well as the 2018 Ragdale Alice Judson Hayes Fellowship recipient. While advancing to the second round of the 2018 Creative Capital Awards, they published the articles Talking with My Daughter and Why Is This Happening in Your Life? In the New York Times parent blog, Motherlode. Additionally, their work, Ain't I a Woman? Poems, was longlisted for the Black Spring Press Group's the Christopher Smart Joan Alice Prize for 2020. That's a lot of mouthful there, you know that? A lot of stuff there. Very classy, though. Okay, you're going to be reading from your book, War Crimes. All right. And you need a chair.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. I wanted to say thank you to Heidi and the coordinators for this event. Let me see. Okay. Yeah, that should be good. I might get a little into the poetry, so I grabbed the mic a lot. I also like to thank the readers who came before me. You guys were immaculate. The poetry was just amazing, and it touched my soul. And I'm a writer, but I'm also a fan of poetry, so thank you for having me. I'm reading from my book, War Crimes. They're in 3 sections: war crimes, love crimes, and hate crimes. So we'll start. I think I'll read 3 long ones, or 3 long ones, 2 short ones. Y'all stop me if I'm over time. The tranquil fires in the boat. Fireworks explode like distant mortar rounds. The light bouncing high in the air never descends to earth again. It is only I, trapped within this cage, carved out of my flesh and silent tears. As the audience collects along the shore, dumbfounded, the flickers begin to flourish within the boat. As the emptiest seashells scatter, decorating the beach. My mind is buried in its sands, a million years past in a way where the celebrations were not so friendly, for they cherished war and nourished death. And the people's eyes held what was embodied in them: shock, awe, fear, for we had hard bludgeoned it into their heads, similar to how we plugged the Pledge of Allegiance fresh into a child's mind. Soldier and death had become one and the same. As for the rest of America, it celebrates its liberation. I am not of the stock that feels proud. I am not of the trade that feels liberated. I am the shadow behind the American flag, where it's half masked and mostly forgotten every other day of the week. Oh, which part is it from? It's, yeah, this is in War Crimes. So I should read something from Love Crimes now. I'll read you, Visitors. 1, I am myself, low crawling through the dust, being engulfed by sanded fog. The drama of being lost underneath the giant's foot of sky, blue sparks reflected in blackness pools of soot, soothes my taste for the blood orange fires that storm and thunder within my mind. 2, my mind cradled a thunderstorm, bombs kabooming for hours on end. The sound like tires crossing over manned manholes, bridges cloaked in covered droppings, claimers of opinions spilling overnight. Exiled children that time forgave and then forgot, and me with my rifle in hand, going toe to toe with death. A deal breaker was my exodus. 3, If I were to return to Iraq, I'd wish foes to welcome me with arms, not arms bloodied, rusted, soiled hands, arms that once knew combatants' embraces, riddled with the puzzlement, demise-drenched dreams drained, showers in July, bring forth only here, independent of mercy. And this last one, respect for the dead. 1. They mourn 9/11 in the city again. Today I passed the article forgetting to leer at the pictures of the attendants, the mourners. The morning was darkness, cloudy, bellies fat with expectant rain. As if pain was still too heavy for the city to carry on its own? Or is it rather the memory of pain? When I bore my first only child, I remember the blood, the birth, the silence, but not the pain. And that is the crux of it. The memory of pain fades. All that is left is longing. 2. This was supposed to be a poem about 9/11, about death. I forgot the original words to the stanzas, though. My thoughts drifted. I fell asleep. I dreamt of the crystals in the soldiers' lungs, tubes clogged with titanium and iron, precious metals stealing the air right from their nostrils. No one mourns these men, these women, not yet. Please, not another thanks. I am too tired to remember why the war was fought, why we lost what we lost. Time, limbs, air, space, sleep, and moreover, rest. I almost feel that the nation mourns for the build alone, the collapse of the twins, but not those left in the desert or the mountains, not us. When the lights go out and the day is done, no one truly thanks the janitor for cleaning up the day's mess. 3. One day my daughters will ask me about 9/11, and I will say that it is when it all truly fell apart. Thank you.
Let's have another round of applause for Nicole. Beautiful work. Thank you. Did you have books? Did you bring books to sell? Okay, our book table is back there. We have several people here today. And over to the other way. Okay. You'll find them. All right. Okay, next to last. I didn't miss anybody, did I? No, okay. This will be Carren Strock. While best known for her book, Married Women Who Love Women and More, she is also the author of 8 other books, both fiction and nonfiction. In addition, her articles and essays have appeared in magazines including Newsweek, Woman's Day, Ms., The Chicken Soup of the Soul series, PBS's Next Avenue, and AARP's The Ethel. The Ethel is a newsletter, I understand. So Karen's going to be presenting excerpts from her lesbian paranormal called Tangled Ribbons with a Twist Ending. Karen.
Thank you, everybody. Categorized as paranormal, Tangled Ribbons, an imaginative approach to a lesbian romance, is anything but a ghost story. Jenna is a celestial being and a guardian of souls destined to be together through all eternity. Her assignment seems simple enough: to assure the perfect pairing of Bev and Anne on their last cycle as mortal beings. But Cornelia, Anne's vengeful guide, will stop at nothing to destroy this pairing. Jenna, stumped, tries to see if Cornelia's past Earth life might offer some clues to her strange behavior, but she can't seem to break through this barrier. Unbidden images of Nina come to her instead. This is part of Nina's story. Something stirred, a figure sitting hunched on the floor, a Bible in her lap. An alarm blared. The figure roused herself. Head down, shoulders drooping, she shuffled into the kitchen. She washed 3 potatoes and put them up to boil. Then she took some stale bread and soaked it in a chip bowl. She removed a paper-wrapped package of chopped meat from the old refrigerator and mixed it with the bread. She formed a meatloaf, placed it in a pan, and put the pan up to cook. Next, she set the table, 3 unmatched jelly glasses, 3 unmatched plates, and 3 forks, and she returned to her Bible. The rag tie slipped from her hair, and she raised her head to fix it. I gasped. This was a young girl. She shuffled back to the kitchen. Her mother and father came home. As she put the meatloaf and potatoes on the table, they sat down to eat. Nina remembered nothing before the shock treatment, and ever since she left the institution after her collapse, every day had been a remake of the previous one. All she knew was what her mother told her, that she was the work of the devil, that she had committed an act so sinful that no one would ever marry her. You will rot in hell, her mother said. Nina sometimes wondered what evil act she could have committed. She wondered what she liked to do before the evil act. She wondered if she had friends before. No one came to the house. Sometimes she had a desire to draw. She wondered about that too, because drawing was a sin. It was a frivolous waste of time. Besides, there were no pens or pencils within her reach. The ones her father used were locked in the desk drawer. She read the Bible and cleaned the house, going outside only to accompany her parents and only to attend church and pray for forgiveness. Parishioners stepped aside as she approached and whispered as she passed. The preacher preached about hell and damnation, glaring at her as he did so. She shrank in her seat. One evening at the dinner table, her mother announced, "You're going to be married on Sunday. The good preacher has offered to take you for his own wife to save your soul." Nina dropped her fork. "She's only 17, her father protested. He's past 70. No one else will have her, and after what she did, we must be grateful." Her father turned to Nina, and she saw something akin to sorrow in his eyes, but he said nothing. 5 days later, Nina, dressed in a cream-colored Salvation Army dress, was pulling her washed hair back to tie with a piece of rag when her father handed her a small paper sack. A length of white ribbon fell onto her palm. For a brief instant, her body flooded with warmth. If only she could remember. She gave her father an awkward peck on the cheek and tied her hair back with his gift. They drove to the church rectory. The preach was waiting. Congregants filled the seats. Words were spoken, ceremony quickly completed. The old man bent clumsily to kiss Nina. His foul breath made her gag. In the community room, white paper streamers crisscrossed the ceiling, and a white paper wedding bell hung in the middle. Under the paper bell, a small wedding cake sat on a table. Everyone toasted the bride and groom with grape juice and paper cups. When they left the rectory and her father opened the trunk of his car, he pulled out half-filled black plastic trash bag, all of Nina's worldly possessions, and handed it to the preacher. Then he touched Nina's chin briefly and got into the car. Her mother said, "You're the good preacher's responsibility now. Do whatever he tells you to. We want no further disgrace to befall us." Those were her parting words, and they drove away. At the door of the rectory, as she had done every day since she'd become his wife, Nina, her head bowed, handed the preacher his hat and coat. He handed her a slip of paper. "You will put to memory the following Bible pages and recite them for me this evening, or there will be consequences to pay." He grabbed her wrist and twisted it to her face to remind her of the welts he had left on her upper arm the night before. He never bruised her face or hands, but her clothing hid a kaleidoscope of blue and purple marks everywhere on her body. After dinner, the preacher closed the living room drapes. He turned the floor lamp next to his worn chair. Beside the chair, on a rickety table, sat his massive Bible, marked by dog-eared slips of paper. Impatiently, he drummed his fingers across the Bible, waiting. Nina, as she had been instructed to do, stood in front of him and recited Bible passages he had assigned that morning, passages having to do with rape and sodomy from the book he held sacred. She spoke clearly, terrified of the consequences if she faltered. "Behold, here is my daughter, a maiden, and his concubine. Then I will bring out now. Humble ye them, and do with them what seemeth good to you," she corrected herself. The preacher moved to the edge of his chair. The large blue vein on the side of his neck pulsed. His eyes bulged. His breathing became deeper, louder. "A simple recitation, and you couldn't do it." He raised his hand and pulled her face down across his knees. "You know you have to be punished." He had forbidden her to cover herself with anything other than a dress. Even when she sat in church as he preached, she was naked under the dress, and it excited him. He lifted her dress now. "What a pity," he said, fondling her bare rump. Then he thrashed her again and again. One day he ripped her dress as he beat her. After that, he insisted she remove it before each beating. "Please, can't I keep it on?" she pleaded. "It's in the scripture. Eve was naked before Adam. Take it off." Sometimes her humiliation was enough to satisfy him. Sometimes he wanted welts on her back. Sometimes he wanted blood. The preacher's treatment of Nina those first few months after their marriage had been relatively mild compared to the way he treated her after her father and mother died. Nina had returned home and begged her parents to let her stay. She'd even lifted her dress to show them the welts on her thighs. "Maybe we should," her father began. Her mother cut him off. If the preacher beat her, she deserved it. A holy man does God's work. Nina walked out, vowing never to return. But she did. Word came late that same night that her father had died of a massive heart attack, and with the preacher, she returned. Nina's mother went not to her, but to the preacher for comfort. "The Lord and I are here for you, my sister," he said, taking her hands in his. "We'll help you through this time of sorrow. Now give me the documents our good brother left. Let me see his death policy." "Documents? Death policy?" "Documents." Then louder, "Policies." He dropped her hands and shoved her aside. "Never mind, I'll find them myself." He turned to the old desk and pulled at the center drawer. It didn't open. He pulled harder until the lock splintered and the drawer came apart. Nina's mother stood obediently by as the preacher rifled through the contents. The large vein on the side of his neck began to pulse, slowly at first and then faster. Nina cowered in the corner, knowing what was to come. "Where are your bank accounts?" he demanded of her mother. "We have none." "But the sums you contribute every Sunday," Nina's mother shrugged. "Everything goes to the church, for God, everything." "You fool." He grabbed the woman by the house dress and shook her, but his fury would not be contained until he put his fist through the window beside her. With his now bloody hand, he jerked Nina to her feet and dragged her out of the house. The woman's faith shattered like glass. Everything she had ever believed in, gone. Slowly, she gathered the scattered papers. She picked up the book of matches that had fallen from the drawer and struck one. Nina looked back as the car pulled away. She saw a flickering light and then her mother's face at the window. The curtain went up in flames. The girl turned forward in her seat and said nothing. There was nothing more to say, nothing more to feel, and suddenly, nothing more to fear. The end. And if you want to know why she's going through this hell, it's in the book Tangled Ribbons.
Thank you, Carol. What a storyteller you are. I was on the edge of my seat. I wanted to kill that guy, though. Yeah. Okay. Oh, are you going to come and say something? I am. I think so. All right. All right, I'll just stand here quietly.
Yeah, it's standard quiet. Quiet to be in the gallery there.
Very quietly.
Yes, wow, great writers out there and sharing your heart and soul and your vision and passions. We're so thankful. And a big thank you to Chocolate for hosting us. And a big thank you to Howl. Thanks to the team over there. Howl Arts and Howl Happening and Howl Archive, many fantastic programs that they have going on. Please check them out on their website. Come to as many events as you can. We really appreciate the partnership that we've had with them here. And I'd like to thank my co-curator, Eva Mueller, who is here tonight, for the visual art exhibition, but also for the showcases here. It's great to have your partnership. And we feel that we've received some great feedback that the collection of artists that were able to participate with us and come together on short notice are incredible, and the feelings that people are getting from the show has been some great feedback. So thanks, Ava. Thank you to all the artists who are here. There are a few artists here. So after the performance, after the showcase tonight, please hang out. Thank you to Ryan for giving us some goodies over there. And be sure to tip as much as you can so that they can have a good dinner tonight. And thank you for the recording to Ethan there and everybody. So without I hope I haven't forgotten anybody. Of course, Fresh Fruit Festival. The team there at Fresh Fruit Festival is near and dear to my heart, as I mentioned early on. I curated 2 exhibitions, 2010 and 11. And 2010 was my first ever. I had never curated before. And Carol Polcovar, who you saw earlier, found out about me through Nick Curdo, who was running a salon for artists of the community. And he suggested I knew a lot of people and could bring together an exhibition, and she gave me my first chance. So thank you to Carol for giving me that direction and nudge. And here we are again. So I think Chocolate is saying, aren't I supposed to be doing something here?
I was standing up.
Yes, yes. And I've collaborated with Chocolate here for many iterations of poetry and literature showcases, and she's always my go-to, and thank God she's usually available. So Chocolate Waters continues to perform poetry, host literary events, and publish her work. In September, coming up, Sinister Wisdom will officially release Melting in Your Mouth, the early work of Chocolate Waters, as a sapphic classic. Advanced copies are available tonight, and you can learn more about her history and what she does at chocolatewaters.com. So she's going to share a little bit of her
Very little,
beauty.
little short.
Yeah, well,
I
that's all
promise.
right. We've got plenty of time. So enlighten us, and we look forward to your words.
Thank you, Heidi. Very nice. We appreciate you. You're the best. Let's hear it for Heidi. She does a really lot of work. Okay. Many of you may know the magazine Sinister Wisdom. It is the oldest surviving lesbian literary magazine in the country, probably in the world at this point. And I have been published in the magazine many times over the years. So recently, they decided that they were going to republish my early work. I produced 3 books between 1975 and 1980, which means I was between 25 and 30 when I wrote this stuff. So everything old is new again, I guess. I don't know. So I'm going to be doing a few from this book, and they are available. Advanced copies. They are not on sale anywhere yet, except here. So, all right. Since last month was Gay Pride, Gay and Lesbian Pride, I'm going to do an early coming out poem that is called Wishes. She wishes someone would make a line drawing of her so she could send it to her mother, saying, "Look, see how well I come together at the edges? All the right places are connected." But the daughter uses nasty, unpoetic words, brags of loving women. Being a lesbian is nothing to be proud of, wrote her mother, misspelling the word and quoting the Bible, the word, "Like yourself and others will like you." Her mother's words advise her the daughter knows these unsaid others are all men. Like yourself and men will like you. Her mother's wishes are blank spaces. In between the lines, the spaces of the lovely marriage, the straight white lines, the picket fence, the upright husband with the fat blank check, a friendly dog, 2 darling children, a movie once a month, a woman sitting on the edge of all her spaces, wishing. I wish to tell my friends my daughter is a perfectly adorable, socially acceptable, middle-class, movie-going, husband married, children tied, bored and boring, tired cliché. She wishes someone would make a line drawing of her so she could send it to her mother, saying, "Look, see how well I come together at the edges? All the right places are connected. All the blank spaces are my wishes, growing fat and possible at the stroke of each new line. She wishes." Thank you. Thank you. This is a short one. It's called "A Woman with Me." And this was published in an anthology called "My Lover is a Woman," edited by Leslie Ann Newman. Some of you may know her also. Okay. Rain on me with your mouth, more soft and winning than my favorite scotch. I have known you many times before, sweet love. A woman nestled against my arm, a woman twitching at the cheek for want of touching me, a woman with her legs around me, clutched so tight and looking at me with her toes, a woman, her eyes as bright as sparklers, her loves as warm and different as a patchwork quilt. Let me sew myself into your hair, comfort you, and listen to our noses pressed together. They sound like us. They sound like women together many times before and now, and sometime in the future, she will always be a woman. I will always have a woman with me. And I do. I'm engaged. And she lives in Kentucky, of all places. White people, Trump land. But, so I can't move there. Yeah, and she can't move here, but so we're commuting. That's what we're doing, and it's working out so far, but it is kind of difficult. All right, I'll read one more. Okay, close with this one. It's called Feminine. The word has become hateful. It reminds you of little girl voices, clutch purses, ankle bracelets, clean underwear in case you get hit by a truck. Feminine. The word has lost its woman, its essence, its puissance, its delicious smell. It reminds you of deodorant sprays, of female troubles, of not enough iron in the diet. Feminine. The word has become déclassé. They scorn it in classrooms, in locker rooms, in gay men. They scorn it in political matters and in women's bars. Feminine. The word has lost its noblesse, its butchiness. Feminine. The word has lost its balls. Thank you. Thanks. Thanks, everybody. Thank you. Thank you.
See why I always try to grab her, right? Brilliant work, brilliant spirit. Thank you so much. Thank you to all our readers tonight and to the artists who are here. Please enjoy the space. We have a little bit of time left. See the art, talk with each other, enjoy some refreshments. Thank you all.